Hey team, inside of this training, we are going to go ahead and walk you through very quickly an important step in getting your website live, which is optimizing for mobile. Okay, this is very important, and you'll see that I do have ClientKit open in the back because I am going to go ahead and walk you through it very quickly, but this is important, so I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of a background understanding of what we're talking about here. Okay, so one of the final steps as we go ahead and talk about launching your website is something known as conversion rate optimization and optimizing for mobile. Okay, so conversion rate optimization, you're going to hear this a lot as you start to become a professional business owner and you start to be able to learn more about marketing and sales. Conversion rate optimization, CRO, stands for a process of increasing the percentage of conversions from a website or a mobile app. Okay, so let me go ahead and explain this to you so that way you understand the importance of what it is that we are talking about. Because remember, we here are all about educating you and empowering you so that way in your business journey, you are not a prisoner to some guru who is trying to convince you that you need to buy their course or you need to buy, whatever they have to sell you. No. You're learning the skills so that way you have the freedom and flexibility to be able to run your business for the rest of your life and be able to put food on the table for you and your family for the rest of your life, independent of the economy, independent of the government. It does not matter what. You have the skills to be able to do this. Okay, so let me explain to you exactly why this is so important. Because what's going to happen here is that whenever you have a website, whenever you have a funnel, whenever you have any sort of marketing or sales that is going on the internet, okay, what's happening is that as you have these web pages, you are optimizing the text, the images, the sizing on these web pages so that way more and more people will move through your funnel or your website, okay? And so what you do is that you go ahead and make it either more interesting for them, you make it more eye-catching for them, you make it more optimized, okay? So don't be afraid of, these fancy terms. Just optimize means make it better, okay? And so we make it optimized so that way more people will actually go through the actual website, because the more people that go through what it is that we are providing, the more chance they have to become prospects or leads or whatever it is that we're converting for, right? Customers maybe, okay? So how do we do this? How do we actually primarily do conversion rate optimization, okay? Primarily, what a lot of people do, number one, is what we do is we optimize for the space that is on the actual web page, okay? Either both on desktop or on mobile, or I should say rather, and on mobile, okay? Because what we are paying attention to is what is known as above or below the fold, okay? And so what we're doing is we're making sure that, and I'll explain to you what above the fold means in just a second, we're making sure that the space that is optimized, that first shows up when somebody lands on our funnel or on our website, is optimized for being able to have the most amount of information, okay? And so what that basically looks like is right here, above the fold versus below the fold, okay? The fold basically just means that when somebody opens up the website, okay, whether that be on their computer or on their mobile device, that first part that actually shows up without having to have them scroll, all of that is known as above the fold. Anything that is on the web page or on the funnel or on the website that is actually making them have to scroll, that means that that is below the fold, okay? So I hope that makes sense. So what we're going to be talking about in this training in just a second is optimizing your website for mobile so that way it actually looks good, it actually looks decent on mobile, and that way it actually has a decent chance towards being above the fold properly as well. Now, this lesson that you're learning right now is also going to be critical when we walk you through how to be able to set up sales and marketing funnels, right? For whether that be for organic traffic, whether that be for paid ads, whatever it might be, we're going to be walking you through in upcoming courses all about funnels and marketing funnels and sales funnels and all of that. And so that is going to apply for all of that once you're actually doing that as well, okay? So again, I'm just showing you a couple of different examples of here that we're going to go ahead and show you in the future courses about how to actually optimize the space properly so that way you are in fact getting the leads that you are looking to get to, okay? So we do this in a couple of different ways. We adjust the padding, we adjust the text size, we adjust the image size, we adjust it on mobile, we adjust it on desktop. All of these are different things that we kind of play around with in order to make sure that the web page, the website, or the funnel looks the way that we want it to. Now, again, this is a skill and I'm going to emphasize this again and again and again, this is a skill, and a skill equals knowledge times repetition, okay? So you're getting the knowledge right now, and then if this is the first time you're doing this, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but trust me, it will get easier as you get an idea of how all of this works, okay? So with that being said, what we're going to go ahead and do right now is I'm going to go ahead and cut over so we can go ahead and together optimize your website for mobile, and guess what? The beautiful thing is we've already done 90% of the work for you, okay? So I'm just going to walk you through this, and it's going to be amazing. So let me go ahead and cut over to that now. All right, so here we are, step-by-step optimizing web pages for mobile. Again, we've done 90% of the work for you. So I will go ahead and walk you through exactly how all of this works. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and go over to sites. We're then going to go ahead and go over to websites. We're then going to go ahead and open up your specific website that you have been editing. Now, I do want to go ahead and make this very clear. This also does apply to funnels, okay? Because remember, funnels and websites work very, very similarly. The only difference is that there are some features in funnels that help for marketing and data tracking purposes, like split testing and a little bit additional data features, okay? But websites and funnels are very, very similar in that regard. So right now, I'm just going to walk you through how it works for websites. However, I do want to make this clear that the same applies for funnels as well, okay? So what we do is we go ahead and edit in a new tab, okay? Now, again, if you want to go ahead and click on edit normally, that is totally up to you as well. And then what we're going to go ahead and do here, and this is very important, is we're going to go ahead and click on mobile mode right over here, okay? So you'll notice that inside of the builder, right over here, there is desktop mode and there is mobile mode, okay? And so right now what we are doing is we're previewing what the end result, this is what is called a what you see is what you get type of website builder, drag and drop website builder. It makes it very easy to actually go in and edit a website, right? Because exactly what it looks like on here is exactly the way that it's going to look like when it is live to the people who see it, right? So unlike you having to go ahead and write a bunch of code and learn, HTML and learn JavaScript and CSS, and all of these are coding languages, all of these new technologies allow us to be able to create websites effortlessly and easier, and this has only been available over the last couple years, right? Before that, it used to be much more difficult to be able to actually make a website. Right now, it's much, much easier. Now, what we do is we switch from desktop mode over to mobile mode, okay? And what it's going to show us, it's going to show us what the website is going to look like on mobile. Now, what you will notice is that, guess what? This looks pretty dang optimized. Exactly, because we've already done a lot of the hard work to optimize everything for this website. Now, what you need to do is you need to go in and just verify and look at everything to make sure that everything is looking good, right? So you see on here, this is Becky, this is Kayla, this is Michelle, this is Terry. Now, one thing I want to go ahead and show you, and this is very important because sometimes this can be confusing for some people. Sometimes you can actually have the desktop view and the mobile view look different. Let me show you what that means over here, okay? So if I scroll over here to the testimonials, you will see that on the desktop view, here on the desktop view, I have Becky and I have Kayla, okay? So I have two testimonials here. But then when I shift over here to the mobile view and I scroll down over to the testimonials, I have Becky, I have Kayla, and then what is this? I got Michelle and I got Terry. Like, what is going on here? Like, this was not showing up in the actual desktop view. And that is because sometimes in order to make things optimized, what you have to do is you have to make an element. Remember, we've talked about elements before? You have to make an element only specific to desktop and an element only specific to mobile. Now, stick with me here. I know that sounds complicated, but again, do not be overwhelmed. This is just a skill, just like when you were learning to tie your shoes or you were learning to ride a bicycle. In the same way, the first time you did it, it was probably difficult. And then the repetition, it gets easier and easier and easier, right? So let me show you what this is. If I click on the little right here, I'm going to click on the setting cog. And then what I do is I go over to advanced. And what you will see here is that there is the option for visibility, okay? Now this option for visibility has a desktop, right? It looks like a computer monitor, and then it has a mobile device. Now you'll notice that here, in this case, only the desktop is showing. Now, why is only the desktop showing? Because what it's telling me is that this kind of column here, right? This purple, right? We're looking at third column over here. This purple is only going to show up on desktop. And so what has happened here is that there is actually two versions of these columns. There is what is showing up on the desktop side of things, and then there is what is showing up on the mobile side of things. And again, we do that because sometimes for certain elements, they don't resize properly in both elements, right? So now, of course, you could come over here and let's say, for example, I wanted to go ahead and turn this visibility from only desktop to desktop and mobile. So now you see here what's happening is that this specific column is only available on desktop. And then on top of that, remember, if you remember, we talked about green and then it goes to blue and then it goes to purple, right? So you'll see that right over here, let me see if I can get this to pause for me real quick. You'll see, I'm gonna try to grab my pointer. I can't do it, but you'll see right here where my mouse is, that desktop screen right there, it's telling me that this element, okay, this section is only available on desktop only, right? Even if I put my mouse over, you'll see it says desktop only, right? And then if I go over to the green is showing me that if I go over to settings, and then I go over to advanced, it's showing me that it's available on both. And so watch this right here, okay? If I go over here and I switch this blue over to both desktop and mobile, okay? And then I come over here, let me check the purple. The purple is now on desktop and mobile also. Okay, beautiful. Now check this out. If I go now over to the mobile view, you're going to see that I'm going to have double. I'm going to have a Becky and a Kayla. That is going to be this one. And then I'm going to have another Becky and Kayla that is going to be the mobile view. Watch this. Check this out, okay? We're going to come down over here. We got Becky 1. We got Kayla 1. And then guess what? We got Becky 2 and we got Kayla 2. Now, the reason is because you'll see how all this, the spacing on this is all janky, because this specific module has to belong only to right here. I got to go back and switch this. I got to go to settings and I'm going to switch this to show up only on desktop. So only the blue is what is going to be highlighted. Now, again, if this is going over your head and you're like, oh, what the heck? This is confusing. What's going on here, right? We've already done 99% of the hard work for you, but I'm just showing you a little bit more behind the scenes. So again, you'll know that our spiel here is that we want you to be empowered so that way you are not tied to some guru for the rest of your life and you have the skills to be able to do this, okay? This is very important, like we just talked about. And so that's why I'm showing you a little bit more so that way you understand exactly how we optimize things for mobile, okay? So you'll see on here, most of this is already optimized. And if you do go ahead and put your pointer on certain things, you'll be able to see that certain things are both for desktop and mobile, right? So let's say, for example, I go over to this blue is for both desktop and mobile. So that means that if I make a change here, let's say, for example, I make this everything you, and I say everything I need to know, okay? Just hypothetically, okay? You'll see that this is going to change over here as well. So it goes everything I need to know to hit your goals, okay? Obviously, that doesn't make sense, but I'm just showing you because this specific element is both for desktop and mobile. Versus if I go down to that other element, right? And so if I could just put my cursor over things, you'll see purple, this purple looks like, and I can put settings on here, advanced. This purple is for desktop and mobile. So if I make any change here, it'll show up on both desktop and mobile. Most of these are both desktop and mobile, but then it looks like the testimonials here are specifically, you'll see right there, it says mobile only. And again, sometimes we do that in formatting in order to make it so that way things can be formatted properly. Because right here, you'll see Becky J, if I go ahead and change it to, let's say, Becky A, okay, you'll see that I go back over to mobile, it's not going to make a difference to this one here because there's actually two of these blue sections. And one of those blue sections, I'm going to try to explain this in a different way so that way it clicks maybe even better, okay? So we have these blue sections, okay? And we have two of these blue sections, okay? And they're actually duplicated. So what we did is we duplicated the blue section and we made one of those blue sections desktop and we made one of those blue sections mobile only. And so that way we can actually separate the formatting of the desktop version from the mobile version and we can have it formatted a little bit differently, okay? So again, I hope that makes sense, and I know it might sound a little bit complicated, but just stick with it, and if you still have questions around it, if you still get confused about it, reach out to the community members. You can also reach out to ClientKit support because this is going to be something that they understand themselves as well, so because it's a little bit more technical, it's a part of their platform, they will be able to explain it to you, but I hope this is making sense as you go along here, okay? So what you remember is that in a previous training video, what we did is we said, you know what? We only wanted Becky and Kayla. If that's the case, right? And if you only wanted Becky and Kayla, you're going to have to remember to come over here and you're going to have to delete Michelle and Terry here. So you got to come over here. And even though this is mobile only, all you do is you just come delete and then you come and delete, just like that, okay? And then let's say, for example, you wanted there to be a little bit of space here between Becky and Kayla. So you're gonna go ahead and click on the settings cog. You're gonna go over here to general, and then you're like, you know what? I want there to be a little bit of space there, okay? So what you can do here is you can just, that's gonna increase the padding. Let's go increase the margin a little bit. You'll see it goes ahead and increases a little bit of the margin there, right? So again, we can mess around with what is the margin and the padding in order to be able to go ahead and optimize this the way that we want it to look. And so this is where a lot of people mess up, is that they will create this amazing looking website on the desktop, and then they'll never actually optimize it for the mobile. And that is very important. So you'll see on here, we've already gone ahead and done a lot of this work for you, but you just want to go ahead and look it over, because as you're customizing the template in the previous training that we walked you through, you might have customized everything on the desktop side of things, but you hadn't done it yet on the mobile side of things. And what we've done for you already over here is that you'll see the navigation. We've gone ahead and made it a hamburger navigation for you. That's what they call it right there. So that's 3 lines. And then of course, throughout this entire process, make sure you are taking the time to actually go ahead and save. That's going to be very important. And then you can actually go ahead and do a preview. Now here's a little bit of a hack for you, okay? If you ever wanted to know, hey, I want to see what this website is going to look like on mobile, there's 2 ways that you can play around. Sometimes it works one of 2 ways, okay? You can either take the screen and you can go ahead and collapse it, okay? And then you'll see that that hamburger menu came in right there, okay? That's sometimes one way that you can go ahead and do that. The other way, if you wanted to go ahead and see what it might look like on mobile, this might be a little bit more advanced, is you can right click. You can then go over to, I believe it's going to be inspect. Yep, inspect. And then, and again, this looks crazy, right? Don't worry about this. There's this little icon up here, and this applies to Google Chrome. Okay, so I don't know how it would work in other browsers, but right over here, there's this little icon. And then if you click on that little icon, it will actually go ahead and convert your website into a mobile website, okay? And so that way you can actually go ahead and see what it would look like on mobile. And then you can kind of drag the screen for different screen sizes on an iPad or something like that, okay? So that's a couple different ways that you can do it. Now, even this is not 100% the best way. Of course, the best way would be to send yourself a link to the actual website and open that up on your phone. That would be like the end all be all, right? That's kind of the way to check it. But sometimes, if you're in a rush, you just want to see something really quickly. But even this method, you see how it's kind of all janky with the text. But then when we actually went into the editor, that's not what it looked like inside of here for mobile, right? So even this method is not 100%, but I did just want to share that with you as a kind of like a hack there if you wanted to see in between what that might look like as a little bit of a pro tip. So again, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're talking about when we talk about optimizing for mobile. You want to go ahead and open up either the funnel page, the website page. You want to optimize the section paddings and margins. You can optimize image sizes as well. So for example, on this case, let's say this logo is a little bit too big for my liking maybe on mobile, right? So maybe what I might do here is I might go ahead and make this, let's say, let's make this like 30, right? Maybe I wanted to make it smaller hypothetically. Now, here's the problem with this. And let me show you, and this is a little bit more advanced, stick with me, but I want you to be able to be equipped with this skill. And again, once you learn it once, you're good forever, which is that if I go to desktop, you'll see that on desktop, it actually made it small as well. Why? Because of what we talked about earlier, which is that this is an element that is on both desktop and mobile, right? It's connected. And so what I might decide to do here is, this is a perfect example of how I want to change the image size, okay, or I want to change the text size or whatever on mobile, but I don't want it to affect the desktop view. And so what I do is I go ahead and clone it, okay? And then I have a cloned version right here. And then what I do is for one of these, I'm going to go ahead and make this one desktop, okay? And then that means I just turned off the mobile one over here, okay? And then on this one, I'm going to go ahead and make it mobile. Boom, it disappeared. And so now I actually have 2 elements. One of those elements is showing up only on desktop, and then the other element is showing on mobile. And so on mobile, I can go ahead and leave the small one right over here at 30 pixels, which is the height. And then over here on desktop, I'm going to go ahead and make this 50 pixels, okay? And so you'll see that it actually keeps this one small because now they're 2 separate elements, and you'll see that right there, I do in fact have that little mobile only icon there because like you saw, we cloned it. And then after we cloned it, we basically changed the settings for one to show up on mobile only and for one to show up on desktop only. And that is a perfect example of in what situations sometimes we might need to separate the desktop and the mobile by cloning the element or cloning the section and then making it only specific for a specific type of device. I hope that makes sense. I hope this is absolutely clear. This is going to be an invaluable skill so that way you are not caged, you are not handcuffed, you are not a prisoner to some tech guy or some tech guru or some guru in general who's like, hey, you got to pay me $1,000 a month or something crazy like that just to do some basic work on a skill that you can learn, which is just website development, funnel building, website building. It is very, very simple. And once you get a hang of it, trust me, this is a skill that's going to unlock any sort of real estate on the internet for you, because you can then go ahead and literally create whatever you want for your businesses on the internet. And as you know, the internet is only going to continue to expand. More and more people are getting on the internet. And so it is not going away anytime soon. This is an invaluable skill for you to be able to learn. Okay. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been this specific training on optimizing web pages for mobile. Again, if you do have any questions, make sure you reach out to the community. There are plenty of community members who are there to help you, who have maybe already figured this out. And then again, remember, if you already have this figured out, don't be like, yeah, you know what? I don't got to help the community. No. There's going to be something indefinitely that is going to be something that you need help with sometime, somewhere. So if you do not provide back to the community, if you do not help others in the community, then what's going to happen is that you are going to be in a situation in which nobody's going to want to help you when you actually need help. So, hey, even if you don't need help, go out there and help somebody else as well. Okay. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been this video on optimizing for mobile. Make sure you always continue to save. Make sure you preview. All of that is very important throughout this entire process. And with that being said, we will catch you in the next training.